Diversity action plans to improve enrollment of participants from underrepresented populations in clinical studies. Guidance for industry. Section 3. Clinical studies requiring diversity action plans.
Under Sections 505(z) and 520(g)(9) of the FD&C Act, submission of a diversity action plan is required for certain clinical studies regarding drugs, biological products, and devices subject to Sections 505, 515, 510(k), 513(f)(2), or 520(g) of the FD&C Act, 21 U.S.C. 355, 360(e), 360(k), 360(c), F2, and 360(j)(g), or Section 351A of the Public Health Service Act 1942 U.S.C. 262A.
For drugs, a diversity action plan is required for a clinical investigation of a new drug that is a Phase 3 study, as defined in 21 CFR 312.21, or as appropriate, another pivotal clinical study of a drug, other than a bioavailability or bioequivalence study.
For devices, a diversity action plan must be included in the Investigational Device Exemption (IDE) application for clinical studies of the device. An IDE application is required if the sponsor intends to use a significant risk (SR) device, as defined in 21 CFR 812.3 (m) in an investigation, intends to conduct an investigation that involves an exception from informed consent under 21 CFR 50.24, or if FDA notifies the sponsor that an application is required for an investigation.
For devices for which an IDE application to FDA is not required, except for a device being studied as described in 21 CFR 812.2c, Section 520G9, AE, requires sponsors to develop a diversity action plan for any clinical study with respect to the device. Diversity action plans for these devices must be submitted to FDA in any pre-market notification, request for classification, or application for pre-market approval under Section 510(k), 513(f)(2), or 515 of the FD&C Act, respectively.
For devices, there are many types of clinical studies that may be conducted as part of the pre-market process, representing different stages of device development and testing. Additionally, not all device studies will require submission of an IDE application to FDA. For example, a study may be non-significant risk, NSR, and in compliance with 21 CFR 812.2 B(1)(i), Ving, or a study may be conducted completely outside the U.S. in such a way that submission of an IDE application is not needed.
FDA acknowledges that a diversity action plan may not be particularly meaningful for certain device studies, such as for small studies conducted during the exploratory clinical stage. Notwithstanding this point, FDA expects sponsors to develop a diversity action plan for a study that is intended to serve as the primary basis for FDA's evaluation of safety and effectiveness and benefit risk determination.
As such, while Section 520(g)(9) of the FD&C Act refers to clinical studies broadly, FDA does not intend to receive or review diversity action plans for studies that are not designed to collect definitive evidence of the safety and effectiveness of a device for a specified intended use. A study that is exempt from the requirements of the IDE regulations under 21 CFR 812.2c does not require the development or submission to FDA of a diversity action plan, regardless of whether it is intended to serve as the primary basis for FDA's evaluation of safety and effectiveness and benefit risk determination.
While sponsors are required to submit a diversity action plan for the studies specified above, FDA strongly recommends that sponsors develop and implement a comprehensive diversity strategy across the entire clinical development program, including in early studies when possible.
Follow Diversa Trials on LinkedIn, YouTube, and your other favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to check out our other FDA DAP draft guidance videos. Thanks for watching.